All right, what's up, my man? How are you?
Oscar, man, great meeting, man. Thank you so much, hey, for taking the time here.
Yeah, you got it, brother.
But first, I do want to start is with the show, is with the documentary. And the question I do have is like, why is it important to tell your story as a fighter, as a celebrity, as somebody in the public eye?
Yeah, I mean, look, as a person growing up with so much trauma since literally since birth, having to be labeled as the next champion, the next from an early age, like when I was 6 7 years old, everybody labeled me, my circle, my inner circle labeled me as the next great champion, this that. Everybody treated me differently. So something changes inside of you. You keep winning, you keep winning fights and championships and this and that. So, and everybody praises you, and you start to believe it. So you start living a different life, a life that is not yours, and so finally, after all these years, winning the gold, winning world titles, having the world on top of me, literally, criticizing me, watching me with a microscope, with a telescope, I always felt like I wasn't being myself, and so telling this story now on HBO on Max, my way, it's kind of like liberating. It was kind of like very therapeutic for me to just tell it the way it is, tell the real story, tell the truth. And so it's kind of like freeing myself from the world.
With it, is it, I mean, holding all that stuff in for all these years, is that physically draining on you, mentally draining?
It's both. It's both mentally and physically, because luckily I had boxing as an outlet to let out my frustrations, to go in there, and when I'm angry, I can literally hit somebody and not get arrested for it, right? You're in the boxing ring, and it's like it was my escape, it was my office, it was my safe haven up in the ring. And so everything that I lived, everything that I endured in my personal life, boxing was like my way out.
Well, how does staying fit through all these years, like, I mean, keep you at least most of your head in the game?
Yeah, no, I was a robot. I was a robot. That's basically it. I was trained, I was conditioned right from the start. I mean, I laced up the gloves at 5 years old, and everything I did, including having a diet at 6 7 years old, literally. My parents just conditioned me to be a freaking robot. That's all, and that's all I know is military style. And you do this at this time, you go to sleep at 8 p.m., you wake up at 5 a.m. to go run at an early age. So it's part of my lifestyle.
Has that changed in any way now, or?
I've toned it down a bit, because I don't want my life right now is just balanced, and before, my life was all boxing, all just focusing on the big picture, and that's becoming world champion and gold medalist and making everybody happy. And now my lifestyle, my life is just all balanced. There's nothing that I focus more, there's nothing that I focus less on. I just try to balance everything out.
Now, as far as a fitness routine, what's like a day in the life of Oscar De La Hoya when it comes to just getting your workout in and just keeping some sort of regimen in that sense?
I love jumping rope. I think, and first and foremost, I think the diet is very important. I think what you put in your body is super important. I take supplements, obviously, but jumping rope, I love jumping rope. At 50 years old, it's like the pounding of the pavement all these years when I was a kid. My knees, my ankles are a little, banged up, but the jumping of the rope in a soft pavement, mat in the gym. I do a lot of weights, just small weights, and a lot of shadow boxing. Basically, I try to shadow box and jump rope almost every day.
Like, how long do you jump rope for? What's like a normal?
I have this heavy rope that is probably it probably weighs 5 to 6 pounds. and it's a thick rope. It's thick rubber rope. And so I can do that maybe for 12 rounds, like 3-minute rounds. Keeps you in great shape. Your arms get pumped up. Your conditioning is great. Your cardio is great. So it's a fun thing to do.
How long does it usually take you per day?
I'll try to stay in the gym for about an hour. I think you know, before, when I used to fight at my peak, I would be in the gym literally all day. If I were to finish my sparring, my weight training, everything, I would still want to do something, you know, because as an athlete, you want to make sure that you're ready physically and mentally. So now I just keep it to an hour. You know, like I said, everything's balanced. And I know in my mind that when I'm jumping that rope, when I'm doing my weights, like I'm getting some great work in, but I don't overdo it.
That was the next question I was going to ask, was in your prime fight camp days, what was a day in a life workout then like? Like how intense from then to now? And like,
Yeah.
Can you give me an example? Like, what are the moments where you were just over a bucket and just like,
you know, my camp was up in the mountains in Big Bear, about 7,500 feet elevation, secluded. And we would wake up at 5 a.m. We would run, depending on what we had that day, whether it was sprints or a long run of maybe 6-7 miles. So every other day I would do 6-7 miles. In between, I would do sprints. In the after, I would get rest, because rest is very important. It's just as important as doing exercise. So I would rest. In the afternoon, I would do my boxing, maybe spar 12 rounds with 3 different guys, hit the mitts, punching bag, speed bag, jump rope. And then at night, I would do weight training. So you can imagine it's you know, the meals in between, the rest, it's a 24/7 job, literally. And then you have to be, your mind has to be like focused, laser focused 24/7. So boxing, when you're in it, literally to win it, literally to become world champion, and it's a 24/7 job.
as far as if they're going from boxing to promotion now, what's the importance of a post-athletic career just evolving and I guess continuously just bettering yourself, challenging yourself, instead of just being complacent with all the money you earned and just kicking back on a beach?
I think, look, the love I have for the sport, but realistically, I see myself in these, you know, when these kids are fighting in the ring, the kids I'm promoting, I see their talent, I see their potential. You know, there's no other promoter in the world that has laced up the gloves the way I have. And so I give them all this information, this knowledge, you know, outside the ring and inside the ring. So it's been an easy transition for me. I enjoy it. I love it so much. The sport has given me everything I have, and I owe everything that I have to boxing. So you know, the fact that I'm still in it, promoting these young guys, you know, like the Ryan Garcias of this world, promoting Canelo, and you know, having to promote Pacquiao and Mayweather and all that. It keeps me in the game. It keeps me sane, and it keeps me at peace.
With that, back to your old boxing days, just a kind of a transition. But if you were to be complacent in one of those fight camps, in one of those, even those totally regimented from morning, noon, and night,
yeah,
would you still been a champion and as consistent as you were, or would have it fallen off eventually?
Oh yeah, I would have fallen off easy, because I was always fighting at the highest level. So every opponent that I had was very dangerous, was, you know, whether he was undefeated, had a lot of knockouts. So if I ever got complacent, imagine winning my first world title and I got complacent. I would have lost. I would have been, you know, eaten up by the fighters who are training harder, who wanted more. I think mentally, the mental toughness is just as important as the physical work, you know, because it's easy not to train. It's easy to just say, you know what, I'm going to take a day off. But it's so tough to tell yourself every single day, I have to do this. I want to do this. I want to stay at the highest level. I want to compete with the best. And, you know, I sometimes surprised myself that I had that mentality for so many years after fighting so many world titles and so many world champions, but that's exactly what it takes.
What is your most proudest moment? Is it as a fighter? Is it as a promoter? What do you
My
look back on?
proudest moment is and will always be winning the Olympic gold medal for the US. Yeah,
What,
always.
what,
That's my prized possession.
what is that feeling like for those of us who haven't won a medal or even?
It's I mean, you're literally competing against the world. I had to fight 6 times, 6 different countries. And imagine the pressure I had, because my mother had passed away right before the Olympic Games. So I had dedicated the gold medal to her. So the pressure, I'm 18 years old. All eyes are on me. It's the pressure was so intense, but that feeling, I literally felt numb on top of the podium when listening to the national anthem, the US national anthem. I literally couldn't smile, couldn't laugh, couldn't cry. I was just numb because all the hard work since I was 5 years old literally paid off that moment right there.
Left here. One question is, as a promoter now, how important is it to be a mentor to these younger fighters now, seeing them grow up the way you have, up the ranks and hopefully toward a championship?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we're living different times. You know, fighters like myself, fighters like, you know, the champions from the like Floyd Mayweather, for instance. You know, we have this toughness in us because of the way we grew up. You know, it's just a different era, you know. And so the fact that I can talk to these kids, you know, because all this mental health and, you know, and you know, we're living this era that is just, you know, it's sometimes a lot of kids can fold so easy, you know. And so me telling these kids like, hey, you know, it's going to be okay. You can train hard. You can balance your life. It's going to be okay. You know, work hard. You know, it's like you got to push them. And so as a promoter, it's like I try to be sensitive. I try to be balanced with my messaging to them, but it's like, and they appreciate it so much because I did come from that tough era. And then you balance it out with this era. It's like there's always a happy medium to everything. So yeah, it's all about balance, man.
And what are some of the do's and don'ts you would tell them? Like, if you're going to be a fighter, you're going to be a champion, you need to do this, but don't do this.
Yeah, you know, it's all about respecting what you're doing. You know, if you really want it, then go out there and do it 1,000%. Don't half-ass it. Don't cut yourself short. You know, because you're no different than me and I'm no different than you. You know, the only thing that's different is how you think. That's the bottom line. So I tell these kids, you know, if you think you've pushed yourself to the limit, then guess what? You have another extra 10, 15% in the tank. You know, that's exactly what I tell them. And, you know, I mean, for most cases, it's worked.
Like throughout your whole career, what's one mistake you made? Whether it be in a fight, whether it be promotion, whatever, that I guess you learned from, and it just changed your whole approach going forward, and it still applies today. Is it?
I think it's literally being knocked out by Bernard Hopkins. I was moving up to middleweight and he was the middleweight king. And I was gunning for my 6th division, my 10th world title. He hits me with a body shot. And, you know, the one thing that I do regret the most is not getting up, you know, and not getting up, not because mentally I couldn't, and didn't have the strength to, but physically when he hit me to that, you know, hit me on the body shot to the liver, it's like I was okay in 11 seconds, but that's 1 second too late because now I'm counted out. That's the one moment that I most regret.
How have you evolved since then? What did you have to work on to, I guess, never allow that to happen?
I remind myself to always be mentally strong, you know, because the mind is very, very, very powerful. I mean, the mind can take you to places that you never thought you can go, physically and mentally. So that's the one thing I always remember is if it hurts, just push yourself because literally there is no tomorrow.
I think what last question I do have is, and it goes back to balance. Like, so how important, again, you answered probably earlier before, how important is it to have that balance in your life?
Yeah.
And how has your balance changed from just all boxing to now boxing, promoting, and
Sure.
then everything else?
Yeah, it's important, man, because look, I mean, a little bit of a little too much of something is not good for you, you know. I mean, everything's all about balance. I mean, everything I do now, I don't take it, you know, I don't even take it to the limit. I try to just, you know, I try to, let's say, do it 90%, you know, whether it's, you know, to save some extra, you know, gas for the next day. You know, it's everything I do is, you know, I don't, first of all, everything I do is because I want to do it, because I choose to do it, you know, because, you know, I like taking on maybe 4 or 5 projects, focusing on those projects, taking them to the finish line or to 90%, like I said, and then move on, you know. That's what life is all about, is, you know, it's like, you know, getting your sleep. You get your 8 hours, your 7 hours, you work hard for another 8 hours, 9 hours, you go back to sleep. It's everything's just a balance. And, you know, if the scales tilted just a bit, you know, on the other side, you know, something's gonna happen, something's gonna crack, something's gonna, you know, weigh too much. Life is balanced. That's the bottom line.
And last question to follow up to that is, what's one activity that the world would be surprised that Oscar De La Hoya does in his spare time or on his vacation time?
Golf. I love golfing, man. I love golfing. If I can do it every single day, every single hour, I would do it.
How many days, how often do you do it?
Twice a week.
Yes.
Not bad.
Not bad.